Hello everybody, and welcome to the 2024 FFL Draft. After a successful first year, we have had relocations, rebrandings, as well as two brand new expansion teams, but most importantly, we have potential dynasties being formed, as this year is the first year that the keeper system has been put in place. So let's get to that. Now, if you don't know, in fantasy football you can have an option to make the league a little bit more like the NFL by allowing every team to be able to keep up to 4 players on their roster from year to year. So now with that out of the way, I will introduce each team as well as the players they chose to keep. First of all, we have the Wisconsin Weasels. This is me. This is the one that I am controlling. I am the Wisconsin Weasels. And last year, I won the Super Bowl. I was first place in the FFC as well, which is the divisions. I'll get to that in a second. I went 13-2, swept the playoffs, obviously, and I had Defensive Player of the Year in Foye. And Foye is also one of my selections to be kept, as I kept CeeDee Lamb, Patrick Mahomes, Puka Nacua, and the aforementioned Foye. Next up, we have the New Orleans Knights. Now, this is a new name, but not a new team, as the same guy that ran them is back again. This time, he has rebranded from the Green Bay Cheeseheads to the New Orleans Knights. And let's just say, it was not pretty last year. He was easily worst in the league. I think maybe 2 or 3 wins maximum. I forgot the exact amount. But for their keepers, they're going to be keeping George Kittle, Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, and DK Metcalf. Now, for one of the most fun teams last year, we had the Cleveland Elves. But this team was all about streaks. They lost 3, won 3, lost 3, won 3, lost 3, and then managed, with a losing record, to make it into the playoffs, and then to end up getting 3rd place, even though they were easily maybe like the 2nd to 3rd worst team. But now, brand new year, and some keepers to keep. They got Nick Bosa, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the better teams coming out of the keepers stage. Now for the Stunner Boys, also really not great last year. They were 2nd worst in the league, competing with the Cheeseheads. And here they are, back keeping Tyreek Hill, Saquads, Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Waddle. Just a bunch of fast guys from Miami and the Eagles offense. So now for the San Diego Sharks, they as a team did not have a very successful year, but they did have the MVP in Christian McCaffrey and the Offensive Player of the Year in Josh Allen, both of whom they are keeping, along with Khalil Mack, as well as Deebo Samuel Sr. And next we have my main rival, the Charlotte Cobras, at least my rival across conferences, as they finished 2nd last year, as they had a fantastic year, and really, their only losses came to me, I'm pretty sure. It was probably someone else, like the Elves or something. And they are keeping Stephon Diggs, TJ Watt, Justin Jefferson, and CJ Stroud. Very solid. And next we have, once again, another rebrand as the Janesville Johnsons. Oh yeah, love me some Janesville Johnsons. They were previously the Salt Lake Skiers and incredibly mid, but now they are the Johnsons with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Christian Wilkins. And finally, for the keepers, we have the Roydville Rhinos, one of the most irrelevant teams, mainly because they were so mid and didn't do anything in the playoffs. I mean, they were more irrelevant than the Cheeseheads just because the Cheeseheads were so bad. But this year they will be keeping Travis Kelce, Mike Evans, Dak Prescott, and Nicholas Chubulus. But now at this point, I bet you're wondering about those expansion teams. Well, I'll get to the expansion draft in a second, but firstly, here are the 2 brand new teams. The Houston Honey Packets, who will be in the SFC, and the Love Season, who will be added to the FFC. Yes, these are the same conferences as last year, and yes, I still forgot what the F and the S stand for. But anyway, let's get into the 4-round expansion draft to even out the playing field for these new teams. And after randomizing the draft order, we got the Houston Honey Packets picking first in the expansion draft, where they will be auto-picking, as he was not able to make it to this, with Breece Hall. Not too shabby to start out with. Then it was Love Season's turn to get Garrett Wilson, another New Jersey Jet, also pretty good selection. Now back to the Honey Packets, they take Bijan Robinson, fantastic young guy, once again another great running back. Good job, Honey Packets. But now it's Love Season's turn to take a running back, as they'll be taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Then the Honey Packets will be finishing out their running back room with another running back, Jonathan Taylor. Dear God, they are stacking up. That's just what the AI does. I think it's most points. I don't know, dude. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But here's Jonathan Taylor. And then Love Season will select Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie. Could be a potentially steal of this expansion draft. I mean, looking pretty good so far with the Honey Packets selecting 3 running backs, so not too shabby by Love Season. Now for the Honey Packets' last pick in the expansion draft, we got Drake London heading to Houston. Their first wide receiver, not too shabby. And for the final pick, we got Love Season selecting Kyron Williams. I'd say out of these 2 teams, Love Season had the better expansion draft, with 2 good young receivers and 2 really good young running backs. But now that the expansion draft is out of the way, let's get to the first round of the 2024 FFL draft. Hello and welcome to the southern bank of Lake Erie in the beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio, where the site of this year's FFL draft is set. And on the clock now, we will have the brand new Houston Honey Packets. After a decent expansion draft, picking up talent all across the offensive side of the ball, we will now come to their first pick in the actual FFL draft. With the first overall pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Houston Honey Packets select Davante Adams, wide receiver, Las Vegas Raiders. I think another wide receiver is certainly expected for Houston, and even though this team won't be winning anything soon, they're absolutely building for the future. Now the Love Season selection is in, so let's go to their second overall pick. With the second pick in the 2024 FFL draft, Love Season selects Nico Collins, wide receiver, Houston Texans. I see the direction the team is going. They're picking up loads of young talent to bank on in the future. Overall, not a bad pick for their team building strategy. Now, here we go into the first ever selection by the New Orleans Knights under the brand new branding. Let's see how they get on. With the third pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the New Orleans Knights select Josh Jacobs, running back, Green Bay Packers. A fantastic pick that simply makes sense, as well as going along with the general Packers-oriented selections this franchise has had in the past, but it looks like the second worst team last year is now on the clock. Here's the Stunner Boys' first round pick. With the fourth pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Stunner Boys select Isaiah Pacheco, running back, Kansas City Chiefs. Once again, back-to-back years, Isaiah has somehow found himself in the top 4, but at least this year it makes sense. What makes even more sense is the San Diego Sharks pick that just happened. Let's tune in. With the fifth overall pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the San Diego Sharks select Cooper Kupp, wide receiver, Los Angeles Rams. This one was an easy one for the Sharks to make, as they needed to fill out their wide receiver room a little bit more, and might as well get one of the best wide receivers in the league when healthy. Now transitioning into the sixth overall pick, we have one of the most mid teams, the Royalville Rhinos. With the sixth pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Royalville Rhinos select Sam Laporta, tight end, Detroit. Once again, the Rhinos selecting great tight ends high, as last year they took Travis Kelce in the first round. This should easily create the most deadly 1-2 punch at tight end in the league. But here we go, into the second rebranded team to draft. We have the first ever selection for the Janesville Johnsons. With the seventh pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Janesville Johnsons select Travis Etienne, running back, Jacksonville Jaguars. Makes sense for the team and is a good pick. Let's move on to the Cleveland Elves, whose home stadium is hosting this draft. With the eighth overall pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Cleveland Elves select Rachaad White, running back, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Once again, the good running backs are being taken high, as they always do. Shouldn't be a massive selection for this team, but certainly a good pick. But now we get into the last two picks in the draft, owned by easily the two best teams in the league, starting with the Charlotte Cobras. With the ninth pick in the 2024 FFL draft, the Charlotte Cobras select Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, San Francisco 49ers. With this pick, the Cobras have created the most potent wide receiver room in the FFL, with Jay Jettis, Stephon Diggs, and now Brandon Ayuk. But now the point in time to decide who is going to a championship team has come among us. And with the final pick in the first round of the 2024 FFL draft, the champions of the FFL, the Wisconsin Weasels, select Devon Achane, running back, Miami Dolphins. And obviously this is going to make sense bringing in a young guy that has a large amount of potential to a championship team. But that is going to wrap up the first round, so let's simulate to the end and check out how these teams did. Now starting with the Houston Honey Packets. After loading up at running back in the first rounds of the expansion draft, obviously Vontae Adams, Drake London, but also Malik Neighbors, which I think is a fantastic selection, getting young talent into a young team. They then took Mark Andrews, which I also like that pick. He's good. And for their starting quarterback, they're going to be going with Anthony Richardson, I love this pick. If he doesn't get hurt, I genuinely think he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now, strange one taking Justin Tucker this high. He's the best kicker in the league and gonna put up points, but not a great strat to put kickers so high. But now into the double-digit rounds, Houston does appear to be filling out their defenses. They get Alex Singleton, then TJ Edwards, both like both of those guys. Then for defensive backs, they got Teron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, and Christian Benford. Just the Bills' defensive backfield, which is significantly weakened since last offseason, so interesting one. Then for defensive linemen, they took Nnamdi, not Justin, Matabuke, as well as Zach Allen. Not awful, Matabuke, love him. Then for their backup quarterback, they got Aaron Rodgers. Could be the starting quarterback potentially, and I really like the selection of Richardson and A-Rod. Obviously, both of them got hurt last year, but I think one of them is going to stay healthy this year, and one of them, I think, is also going to be really good if they are healthy. Then they took Ramondre Stevenson to even more fill out their running back room like they need that. For backup linebacker, they took Jermaine Pratt. Backup tight end, they took Brock Bowers, which I do like, and then for the final pick, they took Malachi Corley, which is low risk, potentially high reward. But now for the other expansion team, we got Love Season. After having a successful first round as well as a good expansion draft, they will be selecting DJ Moore, filling out the receiver room, and it's looking pretty good with Nico, Marvin, and DJ, as they also choose to get even more young talent at running back in James Cook. But the big one, Kyler Murray as their quarterback. Ooh, bit of a risk there, but potentially a very good reward. Obviously, once again, taking a kicker so high, he's one of the best kickers in the league, but Brandon Aubrey in the 9th round, I don't think it's worth it. Next, they take Jaden Reed. I really like that one. I think they could have done better here, but I don't think it's too shabby. Then Dallas Goedert, one of the better tight ends in the league. Really like that one. They did start to do their defense as they took Kaiser White. Will Anderson liked that one. Tyreek Stevenson loved that one. Josie Jewell also liked that one. And then BJ Hill. They also selected Sean Murphy-Bunting and Julius Brents to fill out the backfield, as well as Chris Godwin and Brian Thomas, not too bad, to fill out the receiving core. And for backup quarterback, they got Matthew Stafford. Not too shabby of a backup, I tell you what. It could potentially be the starter. Now for the New Orleans Knights, obviously after selecting Josh Jacobs, they went with another Packer in Romeo Doubs. I mean, if I'm being honest, this guy is a Packers fan, so I'm not surprised that he already has 3 Packers on his roster, as well as Keanu Benton in the 7th round, who is from Wisconsin, so yeah. And obviously taking a kicker in 9th round also not going to help your team's odds when you're doing this type of stuff. T. Higgins, though, in the 8th round, not awful. Terrell Bernard, linebacker. Jack Campbell, linebacker, not too bad. Another Packer, however, Jair Alexander, but he is a really good Packer, so that's fine. Also, Rasul Douglas, a former Packer. They would then take DeMarcus Lawrence. He's old, he's good, but I don't think he will be good for long. JSN, I think that's a fantastic selection. Bo Nix, I really like that one as a backup for Jordan Love. Dawson Knox, I also like that as their tight end to sit behind George Kittle. And then to finish out their backups, they got Cortland Sutton. He can go off on a day, so I think it's a good one. Roshan Johnson also like that one. Now for another bad team, we got the Stunner Boys. So he took Isaiah Pacheco in the actual draft, and then Trey McBride. Really like that tight end. I think it's a great one. Kenneth Walker, also decent pick. Christian Kirk, not awful. Again, this team is just looking not great. And then Harrison Butker, once again, kicker in the 9th round, just not a good idea. A lot of teams doing it, not a good idea. He would then go out and do his defense with Zaire Franklin, Xavier McKinney, Logan Wilson, Jalen Petrie, Grant Delpit, and Taquan Graham, along with Daron Payne. Fantastic defense. I mean, all around, except for Taquan Graham. Just fantastic. I love it. But now for some of the backups, maybe starters, maybe RYT, you never know. We got Deontay Johnson, Zamir White, Jalen Warren, Khalil Shakir, and Jameson Williams. Now for another mid-team, we got the Khalil Mack-led San Diego Sharks. And after selecting Cooper Kupp, they got Tank Dell to get a really underrated wide receiver room with Kupp, Debo, and Tank Dell. They would then pick up Dalton Kincaid, which could be potentially really good. Then swooped up 2 Lions and David Montgomery and Aiden Hutchinson. I really like both of those. As well as getting Jesse Bates and Bobby Wagner, as well as Sam Hubbard to fill out the defense a little bit more. And then for their backup, but potentially starting quarterback, they picked up Brock Purdy. Ooh, that could be a really good one. Also, potentially trade worthy if he wants to, because 2 really good quarterbacks. If one gets hurt, you know, maybe trade them. If one's really bad, you never know. I don't know, man. Really good selection there. They then got Marlon Humphrey and Trayvon Diggs, 2 fantastic defensive backs, before selecting a kicker in a reasonable round, Jake Moody, in round 17. I really like that one. Then to fill out the rest of the team, they got Cole Kmet, Trayman Edmonds, Devin Singletary, Jordan Addison, as long as he's not committing crimes, should be pretty good, and Keenan Allen. All right, now to the Royalville Rhinos. After filling out their offense a little bit more with obviously Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce at tight end, George Pickens and Zay Flowers at wide receiver along with Mike Evans, as well as Raheem Mostert as a number 2 to Nick Chubb. Then by round 9, they got into defense, grabbing Myles Garrett, Jonathan Allen, Micah Parsons, EJ Speed, Kevin Byard, Pat Surtain, and Mike Hilton. Overall, a really good defense. I said the only weakness might be maybe the defensive backs, but Pat Surtain is one of the best. So, overall, incredible. Then, by a fairly reasonable time, they drafted Young Ho Koo, one of the best kickers in the league. Love that one, obviously. Then, as a backup, they got Baker Mayfield. I don't know. Dak and Baker really not the best. I feel like in the regular season, statistically, they might be good. And then, to fill out the skill positions, they got Najee Harris, Xavier Worthy, Christian Watson, and Gerald Everett. A bunch of guys that I think could totally be starters. I mean, Xavier Worthy, one of the fastest guys, Christian Watson, who has a lot of potential still, Gerald Everett, who, obviously with a rookie quarterback, anything could happen, and Najee Harris, who's already proven he can be good. So overall, Royalville Rhinos, I think, have a really, really solid team. Going to the Janesville Johnsons. Right after picking up Travis Etienne in the first round, they grabbed Amari Cooper as well as Kyle Pitts and Rashee Rice for their receivers. They then grabbed another running back in Alvin Kamara to go with Derrick Henry and Etienne, before starting their defense with Danielle Hunter, Alex Anzalone, Kenny Moore, Derek Brown, Julian Blackman, Aziz Al-Shaair, Jordan Fuller, and overall, not too shabby of a defense. I like it. I don't think it's fantastic, but I think it's pretty good, fantasy-wise. Then for their kicker in round 15, they picked up Cameron Dicker, the kicker. Great kicker. I like that pick. And then by the last few rounds, they finished their skill positions with Jonathan Brooks. I really like that one, especially along with Tyjae Spears. Absolutely love both of those guys. That could be really fantastic picks. Before finishing out with some old guys in DeAndre Hopkins and Ezekiel Elliott. One of them, I think, is actually good, and the other one is completely washed. So, now for the Cleveland Elves. After getting Rachaad White in the 5th round, they picked up Smitty to go along with their already really stacked receiver core. I think this core is probably top 2, along with the Cobras in the league, with Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, and Devontae Smith. Fantastic core. They also got one of the best tight ends in the league in Evan Ingram. This guy is fantastic. I mean, Cleveland Elves, some of the best receivers in the league right here. But then obviously a questionable move to pick Dustin Hopkins, the kicker, at 8. Not the best kicker, he's decent, and also 8 is just atrocious to be picking that high for a kicker. But they then got another running back in DeAndre Swift, before moving to defense with DeForest Buckner, Brian Branch, Frankie Louvu, Mac Wilson, Donovan Wilson, and Emmanuel Forbes. Overall, it's really not great, if I'm being honest. Frankie Louvu, DeForest Buckner, Brian Branch, love all of them, but then the Mac Wilson one is really questionable, and then the Donovan Wilson as well as Emmanuel Forbes, not great. I could see them working out, but I don't think all 3 of them are going to work out at the same time, but yeah. But then as a backup behind Joe Burr, they got Jared Goff. 2 guys that could 100% start. You never know how either one is going to start the year, so I think it's fantastic backup. Then to fill out their skill positions, they got Keon Coleman, Dalton Schultz, and Gus Edwards. A lot of guys with a lot of potential for this year. Really like the Keon one, as well as Gus Edwards has a lot of potential. And then in the 21st round, they grabbed another quarterback in Kirko Cousins. Could work out. I don't think it's too shabby. And now for the Charlotte Cobras, defending FFC champs. As after finishing out in the 5th round their stacked receiver and core with Ayuk, Jefferson, and Diggs, they got Michael Pittman, another fantastic receiver. I mean, yeah, Cobras easily the best receiving core in the league. They then got a couple of running backs to follow that up, and Joe Mixon and James Conner. Not the best, but I think it's not too bad. Then for tight end, they scooped up Jake Ferguson. He could be good on day-to-day. I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible pick. And then the 10th round, obviously a kicker, Evan McPherson, which, it's fine, I guess. 10th round is not good, but still, it's fine. And then for their defense, they got Arnold Ebiketie, Kirby Joseph, Buda Baker, Deron Bland, Greg Rousseau, Trey Hendrickson. Honestly, not too bad. The Arnold Ebiketie has potential, but I don't know about that one. Same with the Greg Rousseau. He's good, but I don't know. Trey Hendrickson also at the same level as Greg Rousseau. And their defensive backs, mid, I guess. Deron Bland might get the same amount of picks. It's probably just a one-year thing, but I mean, you never know. He could actually be good. And then Buda Baker's kind of washed, not really. And then Kirby Joseph, that's the one really good guy that I like here. And now for the rest of their skill positions, they got Marquise Hollywood Brown, Lad McConkey, Javonte Williams, Roma Dunze, and Brian Robinson. I think it's a really solid backup group. And a lot of them are going to be coming in at times, obviously, and I like it. But now for me. After picking up Devon A. Chan in the 5th, I went and got Chris Olave as a receiver to go along with CD and Puka. I think this receiving core could work really well. I don't think it's close to the best. It's probably like mid to lower tier, but I do like it. I then went out and got David Njoku for my starting at tight end before grabbing up 2 Titans in Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. Both pretty good players, and I think they could be good. Maybe not starting caliber for either of them, but I think they could have a lot of potential. For my defense, I have Roquan Smith, Montez Sweat, Kyle Hamilton, Max Crosby, Jalen Thompson, J.O.K., Jaquan Brisker, and I believe that's it. Overall, I absolutely love my defense. I mean, it's fantastic. Starting from the ground up, we got Montez Sweat and Max Crosby. Oh my god, love Max Crosby. I think he's incredible. One of the best rushers in the league. And Montez Sweat, I'm guessing the Tez effect is still real, and I think he's still really good. But this is the real sauce. This is the real good stuff of my team. We got the linebackers with Roquan Smith, J.O.K., and Foyesade Oluokun. Just overall fantastic. And then for DBs, also not too shabby. Kyle Hamilton, one of the best. Jalen Thompson, I was kind of disappointed that I have to settle for Jaquan Brisker and Jalen Thompson. I think they could both be good. They're both really young, so they both have a lot of potential, but they both have better guys on their own teams. So it's not the best, but I don't think it's awful. And then for another receiver, got Terry Scary McLaurin. Not too shabby. I like it. Austin Eckler also at running back. I think he has a lot of potential to get a lot of fantasy points. He's also going to be fumbling, probably, which is definitely a concern. But I can see him being a solid starter for when my main guys are out on a bye or something. And then for the last few of my skill position, we got TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Really like that one. And then at kicker, I got Daniel Carlson, one of the best in the league. One of the best to do it. I love this one, and I got him in, round 18. You don't have to pick your kickers early. You just don't have to. But then for my backup quarterback, I got Jaden Daniels. You just never know. And when Patrick Mahomes goes down, I'm expecting him to go up. I guess I say Patrick Mahomes going down like he's going to get hurt. I really hope he doesn't. But when he goes out for the bye, I think Jaden Daniels could be really solid, but you never know. I can also, trade him, release him, whatever I need to. So I think it's a really solid team overall. But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I know it is already past week 1. I am acting like I don't know what every one of these guys did in week 1. And I'm guessing the series is going to happen like maybe a week. All the episodes are going to happen a week after the actual thing happens and stuff. I don't know. It's going to be complicated. A bunch of stuff is happening in my life, but you don't care, and that's totally fine. But I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. See ya.